Good morning, everybody. So, in the last module, we were talking about the introduction, getting started with the Python. So, we're discussing about variables, command lines, and then now we'll move on to Python data types. So, what is this data type? So, whatever we are dealing with computer programming, all are with respect to data. So, whatever we are dealing, they are all with respect to data. Okay. So generally, data in computer programming is represented in the form of zeros and ones, that is in the binary form. They are treated as bits and bytes. Data types are required especially to classify the data from one type to another data type. So what is a particular value or a possible value a variable can store? That is called as the data type. Suppose if I have a variable called as x, then what kind of variable that particular variable can store, whether it is integer, float. So this is determined by the data type. Okay. So arithmetic operations can be applied to numeric data type and not strings. We can't add two strings. Okay. So this data type tells us about the memory allocation, how the data is being stored in the memory, how many bytes are allocated for each of the data that is being stored. Since Python is purely object oriented, it refers everything as objects. Now we'll look into some of the built-in data types. So I've made it as a tabular form. So here are two categories, there is categories and types. The first is the text type, that is dealing with strings. So it is called as str. Okay. Next is your numeric data types. So it deals with numbers, that is integer, float and complex numbers. And next is the sequence types. So it deals with list, tuples and range. We'll see all these things with an example in the forthcoming slides. Now we will know what are the data types available. Okay. The next is the mapping type, that is called as dictionary, which is represented as DICT. Next are the set types, that is set and frozen set. Next is a Boolean type, which talks about true or false, that is bool data type. Next is binary types. It deals with bytes, byte array and memory view. The last one is a none type, which is of none. So let us take examples, simple examples with respect to variables and how to assign those values to the variable and what is the kind of data type that is associated with the variable. For example, I have listed a few examples here for the same variable. Let us take for example x is equal to hello world. So from the text type str, we know that strings are always enclosed within the double quotes. Now this is a string data type. Now when I say x is equal to 20, 20 is an integer value, a non-decimal value. So it is of type int. When I say x is equal to 20.5, it is a floating point value, that is it has a decimal point. So it is of float data type. Now x is equal to 1j, that is complex values with real and imaginary part. So far we have talked about the int, float and complex, that is of data type numeric, that is it deals with numbers. Next we'll talk about sequence data type. So when I say sequence, we're going to talk about list, tuple and range. Lists are enclosed within the square bracket, so it can take a combination of integer, float, strings, character. So it can take a combination of any of the data type into this. So we'll discuss this in detail when we're talking about list. Okay. When for the same variable, if I'm going to represent it using the parenthesis, like this parenthesis, then it is going to be a tuple. Okay, similarly tuple also can have I mean an integer, float, string, character, so it can be a combination. Okay, like in C's, if I talk about arrays, it can have only similar data items which is of same data. So for sequence types, it is not of that sort. Okay, when I talk about range, x is equal to range of 6, so it will start from 0 and move on till 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it takes 6 values. Now when I'm talking about the mapping type, that is dict, that is dictionary. Generally dictionary will be represented in the curly braces, so with two values, key value pair, key value pair. Now my name is the key, John is the value, age is the key, 36 is the value. Okay, next we'll talk about set types. Set and frozen set. Set is usually represented in the curly braces like a dictionary, but does not have a key value pair. It has only the values. Okay, next we'll discuss again in detail. So set, one thing you have to remember about set is it does not allow duplicates. So I can't say apple apple, banana banana, even though if you're having it, you're representing it, when you're trying to print it, it deletes all the duplicates and then it prints only the values. Similarly, we have also the same family of set. We will talk about frozen set. Then we'll talk about Boolean data type, that is bool. When I say Boolean, it's going to say true or false. Okay, next the binary types, that is byte, byte array and memory view. So all these three data types are represented with, like, we have b in front of a string, so it's of telling about the bytes. Okay, the last type is the none type, which is none. So these are some of the built-in data types available in Python to represent your data. So what kind of data you're going to store, how much of memory is going to get occupied, will be decided by the built-in data types. So you don't have to declare anything, but directly you can use it. That is the greatest advantage in Python. Now, so far we have seen in the last slide what are the built-in data types. Now I have the facility here to set a data to a specific data type. For what do you mean by setting? Setting is I wanted a particular value to be is of string, to be of integer, to be of boolean, to be of set. So that option also is available, because when I'm writing a code as a developer, I wanted my input to be only in integer. Then I can make it specific. But how to do that? So let us see some examples. And then when we move to the next slide, we'll have a visualizing example of how exactly these work. Now we can say x is equal to str of, in the bracket we give hello world, means the input here is going to be a specific data type, that is str. Okay, so use these keywords to set it to the specific data type. So when I want my data type to be integer, then I give int in front of my integer. So my integer will be specifically oriented towards integer. Similarly, float and complex. So whatever data type you wanted to give, like float or complex, just specify the keyword in front of your data. Then that particular data will be of the specific data type. Now we can see here list. So whatever I wanted to values, I wanted to make it as a list, put it in the bracket and then give the list function in front of it. Then it will be treated as a list. Always in list and tuple sequence data types, the indices start from 0 and move. So apple is 0, 1 is binary, 2 is cherry and so on. Okay. When I say range, it starts from 0 and move on till 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So totally it takes 6 values. Okay. Similarly, for dictionary, I can use the keyword dict, D-I-C-T, in front of my data. So now it will give a dictionary with a key value pair. For set and frozen set, so in front of your input, whatever you want to give the keyword set and frozen set. Okay. Similarly, for Boolean data types, give the keywords bool and bytes in front of the data, so it will be treated as a particular data type. So this is the difference between setting to a specific data type and assigning a specific data type. Okay, now we'll see a visualization example to understand this in a more better way. Now whatever we have seen in the last slide, we have made it as a program. Now this is a program where x is taking multiple values, like it's taking string, integer, float, then it goes for the sequence type, list and tuple, then it goes to map type, that is dictionary, then it goes to the set type, then it goes to the boolean type. Now we'll see how it works. Okay, the first one is we have x is equal to str of hello world. So when I try to print this, see here, the memory allocated is x is equal to hello world. Now I'm making the same value of x to be integer. See here, the x takes the value 20. Similarly, you see for float, already it was 20, now it is 20.5, which is float. Now you can see list. As I said, list and tuples are sequence type. They are accessed with the indices. You can see here, x takes apple and banana. You can see the indices 0 and 1 over here. So when I want to access x of 0, it will take apple. When I say x of 1, it will take banana. Similarly for tuple, you can see again it's a sequence data type. Again, it is also accessed with the help of indices. When I say x of 0, it will take orange. When I say x of 1, it will take pineapple. Now when I talk about the range function, range functions are, it will start from 0 and move on till 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 6 values. Okay. Next is the dictionary. That is dict. Now how it's happening? X will be mapped to key value pairs. Name and age are key. Johnny and 45 are values. We'll see in detail about all this dictionary and all this sequence type when it goes when we move on further. Next is the set data type. So set, already we discussed that set does not allow duplicates. Okay. So X is equal to A comma B. Now, this is a simple representation just for the understanding of how to set it to a specific data type. Okay. Next, when I say bool of 5, it returns either true or false. Boolean is true or false. When I say x is equal to boolean of 5, it is true. So, it is returning true. So, this visualization example will be more clear on how these data types can be set to a specific value. You can also have a more visualization effect by using the visualization tool Python tutor. So you can see that how the value of x changes. Now so far we have seen how to write a data type, how to set to a specific data type. Now we'll move on to something called as type conversion. So what is this type conversion? Converting from one data type to another is called as type conversion. For example, integer to float. Okay, integer to string, whatever it is. So converting from one data type to another data type is called as type conversion. There are two types of conversion. One is implicit conversion and another one is explicit conversion. Okay, we'll see examples to have a more insight of this. Now first we'll talk about implicit type conversion. So what is this implicit type conversion? So converts automatically a smaller data type to a larger data type. Means int and float. Now integer is smaller data type and float is larger data type. When I am going to manipulate these two data types together, automatically integer will be converted to float. Okay. Now we can see it's very small programming. We have two variables. One is of type integer and another one is of type float. Now I'm going to add these two and store it in a third variable, that is result, and try to print it. Okay. Now what will be my output? See here. X is equal to 10, float is equal to 5.5. When I add, I'm getting 15.5. So implicitly it is converted into float. Okay. So this is implicit type conversion. Now my result is in float. Right. Now we'll talk about this explicit type conversion, meaning I'm going to set the data type before I'm going to manipulate it. You know what is setting the data type? You can use the corresponding functions to convert it. Now I have a string 1, 2, 3. I have an integer 4, 5, 6. Now I wanted to convert this string to the integer. So what do? I use the int function and make it to the integer. Now my integer is 1, 2, 3. After which I am performing an addition on 4, 5, 6 and 1, 2, 3 and printing the result. You can see here adding 4, 5, 6 and 1, 2, 3 giving me a value of 579. This is explicit type conversion using the functions to convert to a specific data type. Okay. The last part is the casting in Python. What is casting in Python? Explicit type conversion is often referred to as casting. We know already, we have discussed that Python is an object oriented language. It uses classes to define the data types, includes primitive data types. The primitive data types are the basic data types. Okay. So casting, how it is done? It is done using the constructor functions. So here are some simple examples to understand casting. Here we can see x is equal to int of 1. So my value of x will be 1. In the next example, we are putting y is equal to int of 2.8. Now what will happen? I'm making it as integer. So my decimal portion gets removed. So my output will be 2. Now see the third example. Int of 3. Now 3 is in double quotes, which indicates that it's a string, but we wanted to make it as an integer. So I have used the integer function. Now it will be 3. I hope you understand. Explicit type conversion is casting. I'm giving the functions in front of the variable to typecast it to a particular data type. Here, similarly, we have the examples of float. Now I say float of 1. Now I want the value in decimal. So how it will be printed? Float output will be 1.0. Now I am making 2.8. Output will be 2.8. When it is string 3. Here it was converted to 3. Now it is float. It will be 3.0. You can see here. When I say 4.2, it's going to be 4.2. Okay. The last part is the strings. Okay. Here I'm using str functions in front of s1, 2 and 3.0. So all these s1, 2 and 3.0 will be converted to string. I hope you understood. So this module completely covers about data types, how to write a data type, how to set it to a specific data type, how to do the implicit and explicit type conversions, and finally how to cast it to a particular data type. Thank you.